Got two very important things to discuss. The first one being how most probably Mourinho's new priority in the January transfer market is now Lukic, who plays for Torino, who played yesterday against Brazil for the Serbian national team. And then the second thing which we'll discuss, obviously, is the friendly game which we played earlier this morning against Nagoya. And, yes, I know I did go live for match reactions this summer when it comes to friendly games, but I'll discuss why I think this little Japan tourney doesn't really, the main priority of it obviously is to do well, to keep the rhythm in those legs, to then be prepared in January. But I don't really think that the priority for this was for the team to play friendly games. Anyways, we'll get in that discussion and I'll explain better once we get there. The first thing, obviously, is this new priority, this new player which Mourinho's into, and it's SASA Lukic. Now, it's fair to say that there's a high chance, there's a high probability of us in January for us to buy a new midfielder. That new midfielder, there's a high chance for him to be either Lukic or Fratesi. In fact, this is something which experts are saying. This is something which, bookies are saying. There's a high chance of our new midfielder this January being either Fratesi or Lukic. Now, let's discuss about Fratesi first, and I'll explain why Lukic has now become the priority instead of Fratesi. Now, if you ask Jose right now, would you rather have Fratesi or Lukic in your team? He would say Fratesi. But I'll explain to you why. It's, he has kind of turned his eyes around Fratesi and his priority is now SASA Lukic. Because from what we're understanding, the situation with Fratesi is very simple. The situation with Fratesi is we can get Fratesi, but for us to increase the chance of getting Fratesi is to prepare a swap deal and give a young player to Sassuolo, who's a team which like cultivating young players. And young players which could enter this deal, this negotiation, and end up playing for Sassuolo could either be Bove, or in worst cases, even Vivo Pato. And no, to me, that is a big no. Because especially with Volpato, he's now living that moment in his career where he's taking that peak. Why would you give him away to get another player? And it's also very contradicting and controversial because the reason why we are now in a position to get Fratesi by paying money is because we made a mistake a couple of years ago when we sold him. We don't want to make the same mistake. We don't want to get Fratesi back, okay, but in return give an academy player. Because that is contradicting. Because you're saying to me, well, I haven't learned any of my lessons. Because if now I want Bove back, then I gotta pay money for it. So it doesn't make sense. And this is why it has made Jose's priority more into Lukic than into Fratesi. Just because Sassuolo are not going to be very easy to convince when it comes to giving Fratesi. And most probably to convince them, there has to be a player inserted in the negotiation. So the second option is Lukic. And I think when it comes to some characteristics, Lukic is better than Fratesi. And the big characteristic which I'm looking at is aggression. And it's that tackling motion. Now, I think Lukic is easier to get. And part of me also says Lukic is better to get. Because I looked at yesterday's match against Brazil that he played as a Serbian player. And he blockaded Neymar in such a way that he made him exit the pitch injured. Now I know it's not good that he injured Neymar. But what I'm saying is, he made Neymar look as useless to that Brazilian team as Vinha is to this team. He made Neymar fans go, wow, I did not know Neymar was this bad. And I'm not saying Neymar is bad, but the way he played yesterday was atrocious. Neymar played one of the worst games ever yesterday. And that was due to the fact that Lukic blockaded him from the start to the end, and he made him injured. Now, I'm not saying Lukic has to injure players. Again, this is not what I'm trying to say, but what I'm trying to say is that he kept his distances from Neymar so many times in so many good ways. And if there's any part of that player, which I saw yesterday play against Brazil, if there's any part of that player coming at Roma, then I think our midfield gets drastically improved. I have never seen such a player just play so well against Neymar. And you bear in mind, we're not speaking about any player here. We're speaking about Neymar Jr. So I just saw so much aggression in him. And to be fair, this is Serbian, Croatian players, Slav players are well known for being aggressive, or well known for having that dark aggressive vibe on that pitch. And that's why I love any Serbian, Croatian, Bosnian player, because they just have a different fighting mentality. They just have a different. I'm not trying to downgrade any other players from any other nationalities, but there's just something about players from those countries, which is in my opinion is something which is just it's just part of their football culture. And it's not just football, it's any sport. And this kind of also links to the fact that the teams from those nationalities are always so hard to beat. Look, Croatia reaching the World Cup final last time. They're always really, really tough teams to face. And the players as well are really tough players. So, again, from what I've seen, he's a very aggressive player. And I think that's what we lack. And I've said this many times in many videos. Personality is what our midfielders lack right now. Because you never really see Cristante go, right, taking the risk of taking a massive slide tackle or a massive interception. And same goes with Matic. I respect Matic, but you never see Matic take personality of just risking a dirty slide tackle. Now, Matic is so important when it comes to getting the balls back. But again, even Kamara. And in fact, I'd actually say Kamara is the best at doing this. But again, even with Kamara, you don't see it every time. We lack someone, and I love this phrase, we lack someone with the Nainggolan personality. And why do I say this? I say this because I grew up with Nainggolan, and having Nainggolan in that midfield to me was like, starting with Nainggolan was basically like as equivalent, as important as basically starting with a goal in advance in compared to your opponents. It was that important to have Nainggolan in that team. So I think if there's any part of that player which I saw yesterday in that World Cup game, and that I've been tracing along some Torino games, because he does play with Torino, then I think we're in with a really good call. And I think 15 million is the amount of money that they're asking. I think it's an absolute bargain. Now, why are they asking 15 million? Why are we even in the first place interested in a player who is potentially arguably the best player at Torino in January? Well, he's basically done with Torino. He's basically argued with the manager. The manager has basically withdrawn the captain armband from him, so he wants to leave. And he wanted to leave this summer. Then the president managed to convince him to stay for a few more months, but he's never expressed the will to stay. He wants to leave. He wants a new experience, and bro, come at Roma, because I think, and I'm just so fixed on yesterday's game, but trust me, he made Neymar look as useless as a felt tip which doesn't work. So it really is. And I've also listened to podcasts today, this morning, speaking about this news, and I've heard people say between each other, don't you think it's useless for Roma to spend 15 million euros on a player which the second Wijnaldum is back will basically get barely any game time? And the big answer is no. It's such a big, bold no. First of all, I don't think people realize how many games we will play starting from January. Well, when do we start back again? January the 4th, something like that. Do people realize how many games we're going to play from January to June? We need as many players as possible. Now, to some extent, it could be said that, yes, Lukic is useful, but the second Genie's back, Lukic gets any game time. Now, the second thing which I'll say is that, one, when we play so many games, squad depth is the most important thing. One of the big reasons why we lost so many points in these last games before the World Cup, with Torino, with Sassuolo, is because of tiredness. The players played so many games. What does that mean? That means you need more players. So just to think that spending 15 million euros for a player who could come and after 2 months could get barely any game time is it's bonkers, because you need squad depth. We've seen how Matic can be playing every single game. We've seen how, Genie, obviously, once he's back, he won't be 100% fit to start every single game. He's coming from a broken tibia. We've seen how Cristante has been playing a lot of games, but how he easily gets so tired. So the answer to that is no player is useless. And plus 15 million euros is not even a big deal for a player who wants to leave and could potentially even drag that price down even lower because of him expressing the will to leave. So I think it's useless to think what I just said. And I think he's playing the World Cup. Now, I didn't get massively surprised from Serbia. I expected something, but I don't know. I think people hyped them a lot. But imagine Serbia advance into deep down into the tournament. Now, let's say they even get past group stages, and Lukic keeps on playing like he played yesterday. His price tag will increase. More teams are going to be interested in him, and this is the problem with the World Cup. There might be a hidden player which we are the only ones being interested in. He plays 2-3 good games, and then suddenly the entire world is interested in him. We have to be effective here, because I would not be surprised if many teams would now be interested in Lukic after his performance yesterday. That's why buy him as soon as possible if we really want him. And that's just my pick. Now, this is also a good thing for us, because the World Cup might also make you discover new gems. And in fact, I think there are so many players who played these few game weeks in the World Cup which have surprised me so much. A lot of Ecuadorian players have surprised me. A lot of Canadian players have surprised me. A lot of, I'm thinking about other nations, a lot of players which I did barely even know about their existence before really surprised me. Now, I've expressed how much I'd love to see Moises Caicedo from Ecuador sign for Roma. That was obviously an entertaining video. It wasn't a deal. But I would love for a player like Moises Caicedo from Ecuador, from the Ecuador national team, to sign for Roma. Someone with his personality. I think we lack that. We lack someone with that personality. And I think the World Cup can give you some surprises, can provide you some players which we didn't even know about. So yeah, that's definitely something to say. I mean, negotiations will start in a bit, especially after the second Sassuolo say, right, for me to give you Frates, you need to insert someone in the clause in the contract. Then I think Roma will change direction and go on Lukic. So I think he's a very valid option, and I would not be surprised. In fact, it's being said that he's slowly turning into Mourinho's new priority. So right, let's talk about this morning's friendly game. By the way, in the meantime, if you haven't already, please make sure to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Amir Ba says, hi Simon, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Thank you very much, Amir Ba. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well, and to everyone in the stream, everyone who's part of this channel. Is Lukic a good player? I mean, I think we answered that question. I actually think he's a very valid player with a lot of personality. Now, I've received messages from people going, oh my God, Simon, this team can't be the Japanese team. And, I mean, who gives an absolute crap about this game? And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I did not care about this game. Now, don't get me wrong. I cared about this summer's friendly games. When we played the friendly games in Portugal, I was the first one to switch that TV on and watch the game. Today, this morning, I was sick, didn't go to school, could have easily switched on the TV for that game, did not. I watched the last 10 minutes. I watched from the second Tammy got basically, he didn't give a penalty, like Tammy won a penalty and the ref didn't blow the whistle. That's the point I watched the game, until the very end. Because it's nice to win, but who cares? Why do I say this? I say this because the main objective of this Japan tournament has nothing to do with playing football games. Like, this is something which has been basically said by our owners. The purpose of sending the team to Japan had nothing to do with us playing friendly games. The purpose of sending the team to Japan is to expand the merchandising, expand the branding, and basically drag more attention onto Roma, onto the eastern part of the world, onto Asia, onto Japan. Now, you know, this is a project which the Fredkins have taken a lot of determination in. They bought an entire building, I think loaned a billboard with all of that 4K Roma images in the middle of Shibuya. And from what I'm reading, one, Tokyo is one of the most expensive cities in the world. Two, Shibuya is the main, the main zone in Tokyo. The only reason why the team has been sent to Japan is for that. And this is why you're seeing so many Instagram stories, so many Instagram photos from this Japan tournament. You know, bear in mind, when we went on the Portuguese tournament this summer, nothing really got said. There were no updates on Roma's Instagram. Yes, only when we played games. Every single thing that happens in this Japan 1 week preparation is being recorded on Roma's social medias. So the big purpose of this was exactly to expand this branding. And I mean, it's from day one, it has been the Fredkins' number one objective. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind us winning on Monday. Obviously, I hope we win on Monday in the next friendly game in Japan. But the big purpose for it is not for that. And in fact, in a way, I'd say for this Japan week of preparation, if I get presented two offers saying, would you rather Roma win this useless friendly Japan tournament or like get millions and millions of Japanese people starting to tune into Roma games, starting to become Roma fans, I definitely go with this option. That is, Japan is a country which can bring so much wealth to the club. And also another reason why we've been sent to Japan is because the Fredkins own a Toyota ownership kind of thing, and obviously Toyota is a Japanese thing. So I think there are definitely other objectives than us playing that Japanese game. But it's fair to say that a lot of a lot of young players started on this morning, and a lot of them surprised me. Tahirovic, I think, played an amazing game. And yeah, obviously we had some starting players. The only starting players which started were Ibanez, Smalling, Tammy, and El Shaarawy. Then the majority of the rest were all young players, and I think it's good to give a lot of minutes to young players in these games. And I would do the same on Monday, because I think a lot of them need to show us something, and I think a lot of them will show us something, because I think our academy team is special. And I've said this many times. We could offer Vigna for Fratesi. I wouldn't mind that. I absolutely would not mind that. I think it would be time to sell Tammy, says Big Sir Holy. When is going to be the next World Cup live? I don't know if I'm going to go live for a next World Cup game, because not many of you guys were interested on it. So I don't think there will be a next World Cup game, just because not many of you guys were interested in it. So yeah, I'll see. But yeah. Anyways, if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button, ladies and gentlemen. Please do it. It supports me a lot. Let's try and get 6,000 subscribers as fast as possible, or like 45, something like that, subscribers away. So please take 2 seconds to smash that red button down below. It supports me a lot. And don't forget to smash the like button in this video. And yeah, let me know in the comments your impressions on Lukic, because I think if there's even something close to what I've seen out of yesterday's game against Brazil, Lukic is definitely a player which can help the team. So yeah, let me know, and I'll catch you very, very soon. Simon out.